Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Daily Biz Link. Stacie Mallen is back, and today we're talking about sleep and the importance for leaders to rest and recover. Stacie, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Lindsay. I think that as a mom, I'll just say this, and I know you have a women's event coming up, so I'll just speak to the mommies out there. The hardest part for me in my whole career, I can remember, is being incredibly sleep deprived post babies and trying to function in the workplace. So I always go back to that place as I'm talking to senior leaders and the need to recover, the need to have recovery in your life, the need, and it's not the quantity, as you know, it's the quality of sleep. So how do we increase the quality of sleep? So interestingly enough, I got connected with Dr. Jason Colbert, who's the um, performance optimization coach for the Diamondbacks and the Coyotes and a bunch of the Red Sox and, a bunch of major league players. And, it's not a surprise that regardless of who you are, what role that you're in, sleep is a big issue. And he tells a story that he actually started focusing on sleep because so many of his athletes were actually addicted to Ambien, especially in the NBA because their travel schedule is so crazy and they're in a different city every night. I say all of that because, there's a lot of research out there about sleep. There's a lot of research about how to get better sleep. But I wanted to bring it to the focus and an attention this week. There's a lot of things going on in the United States, and, kids are flexing in and out of school, as you and I have discussed. And I just feel like I wonder if everyone is keeping top of mind that they need to bake in some recovery into their life. And as I started talking to people, the answer is no, that's kind of slipped to the back burner yet again. So I know we've talked about rituals. Do you get enough sleep? Do you feel like?
I do. That is one thing I definitely prioritize because I know I am not the best version of myself if I don't get a good night's sleep. And I just see the, trickling downfall that happens throughout the course of the week if I have too many nights where I'm not getting enough sleep. So yes, I prioritize that. We actually kind of have like a set schedule where we're like, okay, we need to be in bed by this time, even if we're not sleeping, if we watch TV, whatever, at least we're kind of winding down for the day. But the one thing I would always run into, I think throughout the course of my career was, there's that long laundry list of things that you need to get done and all these projects and deadlines. And we put that pressure on ourselves thinking like, okay, I have to get everything done before I go to bed every single night. But what I found over the course of time when I actually focused in on this is that I'm actually more productive if I go to sleep and put it off until the next morning. And so rather than sitting at my computer for 3 hours at night, staying up until 11:30, 12 o'clock, I'm better off shutting it down and hitting restart first thing in the morning. And hey, I get it done in half the time. And it actually turns out way better than what it would have the night before.
Yeah, and I think that's totally true for most people, but I think when you have kiddos, for example, the kids go to bed, I mean, especially your age kiddos in your house. My teenagers crawl out of their hovels like at weird times of night. So that's another sleep disruptive pattern. I've talked about bears in the kitchen and the movie Step Brothers. It looks like somebody sleepwalked and like I cleaned it up the night before. What happened? So I think what you said is something that Dr. J mentioned. We had him on the podcast talking about this topic, and he said one tip he gives to people as a takeaway is to write it down. And so maybe you're not a big journaler, or maybe you are, but one thing it helps is to like do that download and like write all those things in your head down so you can sort of set it aside. To your point, like, okay, I need a fresh take at this in the morning. I do that also with creative work. I think sometimes when I try to do creative work later when I'm fatigued, I'll start it. And then sometimes I have to remind myself, like, to your point, this is going to take me half the time and be much better if I just put a pin in this. But then what I have started doing is putting that on my calendar the next day. So I block time. So it doesn't just I'm not 9 o'clock the next night going, oh, here I am. Like it's the thing that keeps showing up. Here are some tips that Dr. J shared. And again, the full episode drops tomorrow if anybody wants to hear his story and how he got started in this and just this incredible journey of like the top athletes in the world and including ASU. And, I feel like if it's good for those people, it's probably good for us common people, especially as leaders showing up. But he said, one option is healthy fat helps you sleep and it actually helps your brain function. So he said, if you really want something late in the day, just like a scoop of avocado or a scoop of healthy fat, or people I see making coconut milk, sort of chia pudding or ice cream, all that good healthy fat does help your brain kind of soothe and shut down. Writing out the list is one thing he said, having a closing ceremony. We talked about that last week. I think prioritizing it, and you mentioned this, I agree, saying as a family, hey, we're shutting it down at this time. And I think if you have teenagers, that's really important. We are shutting down this ride at 10 o'clock at night. Don't be on your video games, and things late. Setting that expectation and having a schedule and trying to keep to that schedule. I mean, obviously on the weekends a little bit looser, but I think it does help to have that rhythm. I also think taking some space. He mentions going for a walk or just taking a little bit of brain space. So maybe you do that download and then go for a quick walk, or meditation is amazing, but most people just feel overwhelmed as soon as you say the word meditation. So you can on the Calm app, and I think he's talking to the Calm app because there's some amazing content on there. I found out the other day there's walking meditations and other meditations that you can listen to. So for those of us who have a hard time shutting this little muscle down, there's some stuff on Calm that I think does help you take that space. So I just wanted to bring it up today because if anything else, I've just seen a lot of people, and this is true for parents, not parents, my own parents, as we have parents that are aging and children that are getting older, feels like it's just a universal challenge. So be interesting to hear from your reader or from the listeners and from your folks what works for them, because I think there's lots of things that sharing with other people what works for people, but those are just some of the things that Dr. J shared that's worked for his top performing athletes.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing some of the insight from your recent podcast with Dr. J. Of course, leaders, take a hard listen to this. Make sure that you're taking time to rest and recover and get that sleep over the course of the next week. All right, Stacie, thanks again for being here.
Thank you.